Okay, by now you should have made your way through your to-do list of exploring the volume and seen a couple of videos, and also being able to tell the difference about like what makes a prism and how to name it by the bases. And just as a reminder, it's up here. We have a 3D shape with two congruent and parallel bases. They're named by the shape of the base. Okay, and a cylinder it's like a prism because it has the same features, but it doesn't have polygons as the bases, nor does it have rectangular edges. All right, so we have the generic formula that for any of these shapes it works. It's volume equals big B, which basically just stands the area of your base times height, which you saw in one of the previous videos. So let's just take a look at how that applies to our sheet here. So in this one, first thing that we need to do is we need to name it before we can find the volume. So we see here that our base is a rectangle. So it's a rectangular prism, right? And again, because we can name it a rectangular prism, that means that the shape of the base is a rectangle. All right, and then as we're doing this, it's also important to kind of be paying attention to, well, what are the dimensions, what's the base, and what's the height? So I'm going to use different colors. I think since I started with green, I'll do green for base, and then for height, I'll do the blue. Well, the height in this case is right there. Our blue is 5 inches. So now I'm going to use my formula sheet and top of my head that how to find the volume. And remember, we want to be good mathematicians in communicating, so we're going to start with our formula. And our formula again is, all right, well, it's the area of the base. Well, how do you find the area of a rectangle? So the area of a rectangle is length times width. So volume equals length times width times height. That's where that formula comes from. So now let's fill in what we know. So we don't know our volume. Our length and width are interchangeable. They're being multiplied, so according to the commutative property, it doesn't matter which one you do which. So we're going to say 10, 4, and then our height, label that, was 5. Okay, so now we just go ahead. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 10 is 200. I could have done 10 times 4, however I want to do it. And don't forget your units. So our volume is 200. My units were inches, and it's a 3-dimensional object, so we have to have a 3 in the exponent. Notice again, the exponent is on the units, not the number. All right, we're going to go through the same steps for the next few shapes. I ask that you pause the video, see if you can name it, identify the shape of the base and the height, and then check back in to see how you did. So pause the video and try the next one. All right, so hopefully you identified it as a triangular prism, because we see here that we have a triangle and there's another triangle right there in the back. So there are the 2 congruent bases there. And then that this is our height of the prism. Now realize that height does not necessarily mean going up and down. And yes, there is a height here, but this is the height of the base, not the height of the prism. So when we're talking about this H in that formula, it's the height of the 3D figure, that prism. So the space between the 2 bases. And so maybe we can even clarify that height is equal to the space between the 2 bases. So that way it helps eliminate any confusion. All right, so I've gone ahead and started by writing my formula. Remember, the big B is the area of the base times the height. Well, the base is a triangle, so I went ahead and wrote the formula for the triangle. Go ahead and pause the video and calculate your area of the triangle and see if you can fill in and complete the steps for the volume. Alright, so I wanted to show you what I was doing. At first I started to just go ahead and find my area of the triangle, and you could definitely have worked that out, but I wanted to, this is why we work in pencil and not pen. Okay, I just wanted to show you then again, instead of the big B, I just replaced it with the formula for a triangle. Okay, so then I went to my figure, and this B here stands for the base of my base. Okay, and then this is the height of my base, the height of my triangle. So that's where the 8 and the 3 came from. And I color coded to show you that the 12, remember, is the height of that prism. So now I can just go ahead and finish doing my math. 1/2 of 8 is 4 times 3 times 12. So then we get 12 times 12, and 12 times 12 is 144. Don't forget your units. They were centimeters, so it has to be centimeters cubed. All right. If you'd like to at this time, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do the next one on your own. All right. Hopefully you identify the shape as a cylinder. It is turned on its side, but again, looking for the parallel bases, they are circles. The height of the cylinder is 12, and this right here is the radius of the circle of the base, so that's 4. So again, volume equals the area of the base times height. Well, the area of our base is a circle, so we use pi r squared. So I plugged that in, and then I filled in what I knew. I had 4 for the radius, and I got the 12 for the height. So I said, like I said, I saved pi for the very end. So now I'm at my final step of, I've got 192 times pi. So I will use 3.14 for pi and use my calculator. And I get 602 and 88 hundredths. And my units are, again, centimeters, and that's cubed. Okay, so for this part, this is the same process. I'm going to go ahead and complete this on my own. And when you have done it yourself, then you can check in and take a look and see how your work compares with mine and how you did the answers. So don't forget, you need to name it. So look for those bases that look the same. Pay attention to what is the actual height. That's the distance between the two bases. Okay, and then remember that volume equals the area of your base times the height. So you need to make sure, well, what's my base? Because that's the formula I need. I need the area of that base. So in this case, again, this is an area of a triangle. You need to use your formula sheet to help you out with that. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, and when you're ready, you can check your answers. All right, let's check and see how you did with figure D. You got a triangular prism. Here's your formula. Okay, we had a triangle, and then multiplying it by the height, how many times that triangle repeats itself. And then don't forget your units. Hopefully you're catching on by now. Okay. Take your time to pause the video and look at the work and make comparisons. Your work might not look exactly like mine, but it should be looking very similar. Okay, and then when you're ready, pause the video and then come back and check for figure E. Okay, here we go. Were you paying close attention to your figure? Because what they gave you was the diameter. So when you have your figure, you might want to, like we did with the triangular prism, you might want to go ahead and label your diagram with what these numbers are representing, so when you go to fill them in your formula, you don't get mixed up. So for here, I labeled that this was the diameter. So I made a note to myself that means that the radius is half of that, which is 6. So then I've got pi r squared is the area for the base, because it's a circle. So I replaced the big B with that. And then I filled in my numbers. Again, I saved pi for the very end. Just it's out of habit, because next year in 8th grade you will get in the chance of leaving your answer in terms of pi. So 540 pi would have been my answer. All right, keep on going. This next one, pay close attention. What shape is that? What shape is that we have there? All right, their final shape was a prism still, but it's a trapezoidal prism. All right, if you put trapezoid prism, I'm fine with that. I like to add the little endings at the end, like triangular, trapezoidal, rectangular instead of rectangle prism. So if you put just trapezoid prism, I'm fine with that. But notice I also did write in the word units. Now, because this one has a lot of parts, I went ahead and made a key for myself right here. I said, okay, here's the formula for a trapezoid, but there were a lot of variables, and I wanted to make sure I knew what they were before I got started on my math. So I went up to the top up here and just taking a look at that. I'm trying to find my highlighters. I'll just use a different color. Okay. Remember here, so here's our trapezoid. Remember the base of the trapezoid are those two parallel pieces right there. So I saw that that measurement back here was the 6, and the bottom one is the 8. So base 1 and base 2 were 6 and 8. Okay, and then the height of the trapezoid is right here. So those are the key components for finding the area of the trapezoid. And then I just worked my way through. So I put the trapezoid area in here, formula. And then this was the height, not to get those two H's confused, but this was the height of the prism. So that was right there. I labeled that in blue to remind myself that was 18. And then I just followed the order of operations down to 756 units cubed. All right, the next video that you will be watching is going to be on finding the volume of cones and pyramids. And hopefully after watching those videos, you'll have seen a connection between all of this.